But before we talk about Pakistan, we also need to understand how trade and maritime sector are transforming, because they are transforming. The industrial cooperation is knocking at our door and it's banging at our door. And by 2050, ladies and gentlemen, the blue economy will see major growth in coastal tourism, fisheries, aquaculture, and the shipping will double and will grow maybe even fourfold depending on how the land disputes shape. The seabed mining will surge. Sustainable practices are essential to harness these opportunities while protecting maritime ecosystem. We are also in a transformative era where technology and sustainable solutions are taking shape of the way the work are doing. So the future of work is going to be different to what we are perhaps looking at and perhaps what we are teaching in our respective universities and think tanks. I think the artificial intelligence is helping sensor data and helping us make good decisions and informed decisions. The blockchain is helping automate training and building capacity. The satellite technology that we heard yesterday in terms of enhanced maritime surveillance, optimized resources, fishery management, and a host of other things, I think, is also one of the phenomenal change that is taking shape, including robotics, which will perhaps take away jobs of some of our seafarers. And are we prepared for that in terms of our development? And the most important aspect, and I've been speaking about this, is the transformation of globalization towards localization, ladies and gentlemen. What I see is that, and I would echo again, Tim Marshall in his book, Power of Geography, said borders will continue to be important in the future, and the mountains, the desert, the jungles, the rivers and seashores of the world will continue to provide convenient frontiers between nations. And my colleague from China are here. I think we've heard stories about Changha. We have heard stories about seafarers coming to this region and talking about regional connectivity. And perhaps we should be talking about the Changhas of the future, the Ibn Battutas of the future who are sitting here, because you are the ones who are looking at transforming the maritime sector of the region. But we also need to understand the challenges in terms of globalization and regional integration. The geopolitical tension, the ongoing conflicts in Russia, Ukraine, Gaza, disrupting trade. And who could have imagined getting out of COVID that all this will happen so early, and the stress that economic trade would come under will be so phenomenal that the way that we talk and the way that we do work will change. I also believe that the trade barrier and protectionism, and we're seeing this host of speeches being made around tariffs, will slow down the global trade. I also believe that the fragmented supply chains towards a localized production is happening, and I spoke about near-shoring and friendly shoring, and that is going to happen. And that's an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. And how would you, in terms of harnessing that through economic disparities and environmental pressure, would be important. And I always say this, having more risk is not bad, ladies and gentlemen. Not having a risk mitigation plan is bad. So therefore, you should prepare your risk mitigation plan of the challenges that you've all spoken about, from law, which ma'am spoke about, and some of the piracy-related challenges that we have been talking about again and again and again. So our mitigation plan has to be pragmatic, based on technology, and we should build our capacity to address all that. And amongst the talk of protectionism and regionalism, I think what we are seeing is that Asia is integrating. Asia is opening up. So while the West is looking at the global trade in a different way, in Asia we're looking at it in a different way. And I think Mr. Bu, when he said regional maritime integration is not just an opportunity, but an economic necessity, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore, this Aman exercise or the following Aman exercise and the takeaways, the deliverables that you all set are very, very important to our, the staple food that we eat every day. The supply chains, the vulnerabilities around those supply chains, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we are seeing in Asia digital connectivity, green infrastructure, supply chain integration, labor and people mobility. Because I believe now there will be, in Asia I believe, will be no boundaries for knowledge, for people, and for investment. Wherever there will be enabling environment, there will be pull factor to go and invest. And I also believe that one of the, of course, being the first project director for CPEC, I cannot miss a presentation on maritime possibilities without mentioning the maritime Silk Route, ladies and gentlemen. It is transformational. It is transformational because it is bringing global trade and economic connectivity. It is bringing energy and resource connectivity, economic linkages, port development and infrastructure, culture and diplomatic exchange. And I've been part of BRI since its inception, and I've seen it grow in terms of maritime trade. And I was so lucky and happy in the first Belt and Road Forum where there were about 130 countries, name of Gwadar port was mentioned. And as Pakistani, I felt so proud about it. And this is the impact ports, maritime sector has in terms of diplomacy, but also in terms of connectivity. So I've proposed an inclusive regional integration model for us to perhaps look at in terms of regional integration, from maritime sector infrastructure development to blue economic cooperation, to digital maritime connectivity, to sustainable blue energy, and to the coastal human development. Nothing comes without the human development, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, the outcomes would be reduced coastal economic disparities, stronger regional maritime trade, socio-economic growth, and inclusive development of Asia, ladies and gentlemen. And with all of this said, I now want to talk about the blue economy of Pakistan. And also would like to explain to you the endowment that we are blessed with. We're right in the center of energy-rich and energy-hungry countries. And therefore, our capacity, our understanding of the maritime sector, the challenges and the opportunities is imperative as we speak. We also need to understand, especially the men in white, and when I look at the picture that I'm seeing right now, it reminds me of Confucius saying that, isn't it a joy to see friends come from afar? And this is what the friends must look at in terms of Pakistan's maritime security and governance, in terms of aquaculture protection, shipbuilding, coastal tourism. I do not have a very good story about coastal tourism, but I hope in days to come, the endowment that we have, the beautiful coastline that we have, will leverage that. And perhaps in your next Aman exercise, when you come, we will take you to some of our exquisite coastal tourism sites. And of course, fishery products. I was lucky, I was in Beijing just a week before, and I was in Urumqi, where I was able to eat in a restaurant called Islamabad, fish from Gwadar. And this is how this transformation is happening, and this is how we are going to work in terms of, and I'm sure Admiral Rao will speak about this in quite detail, but one of the fundamental area and perhaps the stimulus on our blue economy is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And when we talk of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, I would like to highlight that in 2013, when we were articulating the plans of CPEC, one of the fundamental areas that were highlighted was to develop petrochemical, iron and steel and maritime industry in Gwadar, build Gwadar into a base of heavy and chemical industries, incremental development of maritime trade infrastructure. And one area which I keep highlighting is the 1+5 model that was given in the CPEC long-term plan for coastal and maritime training and skill development. And therefore, the importance of Gwadar needs to be understood as a strategic game changer. It is not important how fast you are moving as long as you are moving in the right direction, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what Gwadars offer you. And that is how we have made these plans of Gwadar from where it is to supporting Balochistan province and all the way to supporting Central Asian and South Asian countries. So the plans are there, and even the plans for short, mid, long-term development of a port around the industrial development that Pakistan is looking at, and perhaps the industrial policy that might come follow very soon. For the understanding of many, you should also understand that CAREC, the Central Asian Economic Corridor, is also supporting. CAREC 5 is connecting Karachi with Jalalabad, Mazar Sharif, Dushanbe, and CAREC 6 is connecting Gwadar port through Basima and Mustang, and Admiral Iftikhar Rao was instrumental in bringing this forward. So ladies and gentlemen, I will end by giving you a strategic roadmap for maritime sector development. You can only earn if you invest. And you have to invest in policy advocacy and narrative building. You have to invest your time, your effort in tailor-made measures that foster cooperation between countries, including the exercises like AMAN. You have to invest in public-private partnership and promote that. And you also have to invest in green industries and smart ports. But likewise, I would like to propose a model. Our Vice Chief is here. I would like to propose, sir, a consortium of maritime institutions and universities under the umbrella of AMAN Exercise. We have a similar for business school under the umbrella of China-Pakistan Economic. And I would also like to propose, sir, that we should build capacity jointly in building capacity of our human resource, especially in maritime law and regulations. And lastly, one of my proposals that I've been drumbeating for almost a decade now is the Maritime Special Economic Zone. We need this, the way that China has done it, the way that Vietnam has done it, and some other countries have done it. And my last recommendation, ladies and gentlemen, let's not repeat in the oceans the mistakes that we did on land, and start thinking blue. Thank you very much.